Welcome, everyone. This is the last session of the February 2025 MBE complete course. My name is Andrew, the founder of IBIS Prep, and we're going to get right to business today and do practice questions. This is Vicky's last time as Vanna White, but it's going to be her best time. So can we pull up the first question and get ready to rock and roll? Rock and or roll? I don't know if rock would merge into roll or not, but because it could be an inchoate crime. Where's the joke? Okay. Anywho, so for whom would the court find? A niece inherited vacant land from her uncle. She lived in a distant state and decided to sell the land to a colleague who was interested in purchasing the land as an investment. They orally agreed upon a price, and at the colleague's insistence, the niece agreed to provide him with a warranty deed without any exceptions. The price was paid, the warranty deed was delivered, and the deed was promptly recorded. Neither the niece nor the colleague had, at that point, ever seen the land. After recording the deed, the colleague visited the land for the first time and discovered that it had no access to any public right-of-way and that none of the surrounding lands had ever been held in common ownership with any previous owner of the land. The colleague sued the niece for damages. For whom will the court find? The colleague, because lack of access makes title unmarketable. The colleague, because the covenants of warranty and quiet enjoyment in the deed were breached. The niece, because no title covenants were breached. And the niece, because the agreement to sell was oral. So this is very similar to a question we did literally on the practice exam. What, do you have any idea what it is, Vicky? Vicky G? Anyone have any idea what it is? Anyone feel confident they know what it is if they want to blurt it out?
B, the niece, because no title covenants were breached.
Wait, what letter?
That's C.
C, as in cat.
Cat, C as in cat. Yeah, cat, right? No title covenants were breached. I think that we're all rocking with that correct answer. Again, make sure that the answer you pick is the answer you fill in on the Scantron and test day because it's very important. But see, there's no title covenants breached here. Why? Because the deed was recorded and now you're trying to bring a right of access claim later. That's an encumbrance, but that's a present warranty. And then the, never held in common ownership with previous owner of land. Again, that's not a general warranty, further assurance, or quiet enjoyment claim. There's no way you can bring this. It's too late. So I'm going to rock with C here too. Can we try C? Yeah, C is correct. When the colleague discovered the lack of access problem, the deed had already been accepted, which means the window for challenging the marketability of title had closed. At that point, the only covenants in place were future covenants against interference with possession and use of the land and claims of spirit title, none of which provide a cause of action based on lack of access. So a lack of access claim under a breach of warranty must be brought at the time of recording, or else it is too late because the time for bringing present warranty claims has passed. By the way, Andrea, are you here in the audience?
Andrea or Andrew?
Andrea.
Me? Yes.
Yeah. Don't worry, that's halfway through. I'm going to show your album covers. Don't worry, that's all coming. But also, what Andrea did is took a lot of my cram guides and she turned them into little videos that if you would share with either in the Telegram or in this chat or via email, but I'll share them with people. They're pretty cool. They're like my cram guides, and it's like an AI robot kind of reading over them, and it's pretty soothing and relaxing. So if you're interested in that, Andrea, you could share it with the people. But yeah, and Farah was saying here, landlocked isn't a marketability issue. Yeah, that would be, I mean, it could be a title issue at some point, but not after the deed has been recorded. No chance. All right, let's do another question. Okay. If the professors challenge the constitutionality of the appropriations provision, is the court likely to uphold the provision? A state university adopted a new regulation prohibiting certain kinds of speech on campus. Students, staff, and faculty convicted by campus tribunals of violating the regulation were subject to penalties that included fines, suspensions, expulsions, and termination of employment. The regulation was widely unpopular, and there was a great deal of public anger directed towards the two tenured professors who had drafted and promoted it. The following year, the state legislature approved a severable provision in the appropriations bill for the university declaring that none of the university's funding could be used to pay the 2 professors who were specially named in the provision. In the past, the professors' salaries had always been paid from funds appropriated to the university by the legislator, and the university had no other funds that could be used to pay them. If the professors challenge the constitutionality of the appropriations provision, is the court likely to uphold the provision? No, because it amounts to an imposition by the legislator of punishment without trial. No, because it is based on conduct engaged in before it was enacted. So A is getting at bill of attainder. B is getting at ex post facto law. Don't you see how on test day they're going to do that to you? They might not say ex post facto law. They might not say before it was enacted. They might say no, because it is making someone suffer consequences based on prior actions. You know what I'm saying? Like they could use different language to say the same thing, and that's what they're saying. A is essentially saying no because no because it's a bill of attainder, and B is saying no because it's an ex post facto law. C is saying yes because the 11th Amendment gives the state legislature plenary power to appropriate state funds in the manner that it deems most conducive to the welfare of its people, and D because its full faith and credit clause requires the court to enforce the provision strictly according to its terms. Oh, nice. So Andrea shared them on Telegram, the cram guides. All right. So Vicky, what do you think about this one? Vicky G. Attention being paid is minimal. All right, that's cool. The class is paying attention to these. We're gonna definitely see what they say, and I'm gonna agree with them. This is a bill of attainder. Right? There's got to be a bill of attainder. Why? Because it's telling them right away that none of the funding can be used to pay the professors before they've ever been, put on trial or, found liable or guilty of anything. So this is A. You understand, Vicky, why this is A? I'm sure you do. All right, let's click it. A is correct. The challenge provision satisfies the definition of bill of attainder because it deprives the 2 named professors of their salaries and thus their employment. I would honestly think that being the Vanna White would make you pay more attention, but I have been proven wrong. Okay, so if a piece of legislation imposes punishment on, let's say, professors before they have a hearing or trial, this amounts to an unconstitutional bill of attainder. Fair enough? Any preguntas? All right, let's run it. The acai bowl must be taking all your energy and focus. I already crushed my acai bowl already before class. I still have some banana bread left though. In a federal trial, the plaintiff wishes to establish that in a state court, the defendant had been convicted of fraud, a fact the defendant denies. Which mode of proof of the conviction is least likely to be permitted? A certified copy of the judgment of conviction offered as a self-authenticating document, testimony of the plaintiff who was present at the time of the sentence, testimony by a witness to whom the defendant made an oral admission that he had been convicted, judicial notice of the conviction based on the court's telephone call to the clerk of the state court, who the judge knows personally. Honestly, I was getting nervous reading this question. I was like, I don't know. How do I distinguish between the first few? But then I got to D and I was like, I mean, the clerk is going to tell them, judicial notice based on the court's telephone call to the clerk of the state court, who the judge knows personally. Like, that's not the best way to get notice of the conviction. There's definitely better ways than just calling the clerk up, right? A, B, and C, I mean, I was like, I don't know which one is the worst one here. They all seem to have some merit. But yeah, I think we like D. You like D, Vic? Good thing your wife's not here, right? Nat, she may have contested that. So D is correct. Judicial notice of the conviction would be improper because the proof supporting the conviction, the court's hearsay phone call to the state court clerk is subject to reasonable dispute and is not generally known in the community capable of immediate and accurate verification. So it is not proper to take judicial notice of, let's say, a conviction simply based on a telephone call with the clerk of the court, as this amounts to relying on hearsay. A certified copy of the conviction report would be proper, most likely, as self-authenticating, for example. Are y'all sad that this is the last class? Are you gonna miss me? You mean we play that cup song? You're gonna miss me when I'm gone? All right, nice, 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 nice. All right, how much of anything can the plaintiff collect from the truck driver, and how much of anything can the truck driver then collect from the bus driver and contribution? All right, here's one thing I'll tell you on the test, the MBE. Every single damages question, relief question is a brand new question that has absolutely nothing to do with any question you've seen in the past. You can't just look at a question on a test and be like, oh, well, I remember the question I did on, this UWorld or Adaptabar, the answer was C, because like, no, this is a totally brand new question. You have to read it in a vacuum and see like, what's the answer to this math problem, not what's the answer to a previous math problem. So let's see what the answer to this math problem may be. While driving his car, the plaintiff sustained injuries in a 3-vehicle collision. The plaintiff sued the drivers of the other 2 vehicles, a truck and a bus, and each defendant cross-claimed against the other for contribution. The jurisdiction has adopted a rule of pure comparative negligence. So we say, what does that mean? It means that any plaintiff can recover even if they're 99% at fault, and allows contribution based on proportionate fault. Okay, cool. I like that. That's how Florida used to be until they changed it. The rule of joint and several liability has been retained. Okay, so this is what we assume on if they don't tell us. Pure comparative negligence and joint and several liability. On this question, they've explicitly told us that is the case. The jury has found that the plaintiff sustains damage in the amount of 100,000 and apportioned the causal negligence of the parties as follows. See, I teach for the LSAT. You gotta be very careful with that word causal and casual. Those are 2 totally different words. This is causal. But anyway, the plaintiff 40%, the truck driver 30%, and the bus driver 30%. All right, so plaintiff's 40, so he can get 60 from either party under pure comparative negligence. I mean, that seems to be like, pure comparative negligence, he can recover. He can recover under modified. He's only 40% fault. He couldn't recover under contributory, but it's not contributory. So he can recover. How much can he recover? Well, it's joint and several liability has been retained, 60 from either party, and then the other party would have to seek contribution. So, I mean, I feel like that's the best answer. Nothing, and then the truck driver can collect nothing from the bus driver. That's a whole bunch of nothing going on. 30, and then the truck driver collect nothing from the bus driver. I mean, then the plaintiff is kind of screwed here. 40, and then the truck driver can collect 10 from the bus driver. That's not really how it works. 60, and then the truck driver can collect 30 from the bus driver. I mean, without overthinking it, I think it has to be D because it's pure comparative negligence. And if it's pure comparative, that means anyone can recover. So plaintiff can recover. How much can you recover? Total from any defendant, and then they'll have to seek contribution. So D, as in dog. You agree, Vicky? I'm gonna see if you're paying attention. I'm just gonna randomly say the wrong answer, and if you shake your head, I'll be like, got her. Yeah, and that's what happens. That's what happens when you do the thing. All right, pure comparative negligence, easy question, right? I mean, easy, hard, whatever. It's a touchdown, right? I had one game this last season. I have 4 touchdowns in one game, right? I felt like Ted Bundy, right? All easy though, not a single hard touchdown among them. Okay, so what's the concept here? Is pure comparative negligence. We'll say this for like 100 millionth time. Pure comparative negligence allows any plaintiff to recover even if they are 99% at fault. And then joint and several liability, if retained in the jurisdiction, allows for the plaintiff to recover the total amount of damages minus their proportionate fault from either any party, because there could be 3 parties, from any party, and then the defendants could seek contribution from each other. . I've been working so much that Rosie is revolting, and that's why she ran away. And now she's barking at the neighbor's dog. Oh, we have a commercial break. All right, can we stop screen for a second? Hey, Mero, what's up? How are you?
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Good. We just started doing questions. We're 4 for 4. We're trying to get to 25. So we don't have too much time, but there is time for you because what you have to add is just so special and important. So Meryl is a mind power coach. She's a professor at the University of Miami. She does a program that I participate in, and she's starting a new course that's going to start perfectly at the beginning of March. So when you are waiting for your results and anxiety is an all-time high and you have nothing to do but think about how anxious you are, you could actually join me in Meryl's class and learn about how to master your mind power and be the best version of yourself. And the book that accompanies Meryl's course, written by her mentors, actually talks a lot about bar examinees and the strategies that they have taught bar examinees that have worked for them. So as much as I teach, game day, show up and execute, and then I dig deep into preparation. There's some things that Meryl can really, really add that are super important. And I think you all should be grateful for her input because she's already presented, to 3 of my classes before. This will be, or 2 of my classes before. This will be the 3rd one. And it's just been so meaningful and beneficial. So Meryl, if you could just take, like 5-6 minutes tops and just, you know, given a special sauce, they really will appreciate it.
You got it, Andrew, and thank you so much for the introduction. And hey, I know that you guys are really deep in the work that you're doing right now. So I appreciate you just taking a moment to kind of take a step to the left, because the truth is that you're just a couple of days away from taking one of the most important tests you'll probably ever take in your life. So my question to you is, what is the fears right now? If you wouldn't mind, just drop them in the chat for me. Let me just kind of understand a little bit about what you're going through. What are the things that you're thinking? Are you feeling good? That you are ready to go? That I didn't do enough? What else? Come on, give it to me. Let's see them in the chat. Just give me the thoughts that are going through your head. Fear of failure. What else? Forgetting simple rules, not passing. Great. Anybody else? There's a bunch of you here. So just do me a favor and let me hear it. Your self-doubt, not finishing on time, that I'm running out of time to review my notes. Okay. Yes. I hear this over and over and over again. I should have started studying before last week. Getting too nervous or second guessing, making careless mistakes. Okay. So some of the things that I'm seeing here, right? You can only control what you can control. Focusing on the fact that you started late or that you don't have enough, you're only going to basically make it worse in terms of what you start to focus on, which is only going to exacerbate the fears, the anxiety, and all of the guilt that you might be feeling right now. So here's the first question for the one who's saying, okay, like I didn't start soon enough. One thing to really think about is, great, get your lessons now, do the best you possibly can. And if you need to come back and do it again, you're going to start earlier next time because you're going to know. For the rest of you, you've been practicing, you've been studying, you've been in this mode for a very long time. Now is the time for you to start to trust in the fact that you have done the work. You've done what you've needed to do. You've been showing up. You've been in this course. I know that Andrew's told me 3 times a week for months, month over month, right? So you have to start to think about, what is the reality you want to create? You are, what I like to say to these classes and what we've been talking about the last few days is, consider yourself an athlete. You've been in training for all of these months, and you have prepared and you have done the work and you have done all of the things that you need to do. Now is the time to get into game day mode. It means that, one, go ahead and start thinking about what you need to do to prepare your mind and to prepare your body for this day. If you were marathon training, you would be backing off. You would not be running 20 miles before you run 26.2 in 2 days. You would start to back off. You would be walking. You would be doing 3 miles, and you would start to allow for your body to have that rest. you'd start to hydrate, which just like an athlete, you need to do as well. You need to start to give yourself the fuel, physically start to hydrate your body, start to go to bed earlier, and start to feed your mind with positive thoughts. What you focus on is what you will get more of. So if you know that where your focus goes, your energy will flow. If you're focusing on running out of time, that you're going to second guess, that you are, that you haven't done enough, that you're going to make careless mistakes, what's going to happen? You're going to find yourself carelessly making mistakes. So what I want you to do is I want you to start to shift your focus from that nervous energy and the things that are starting to get in that monkey mind, and turn them into the things that you want instead. You want to have a successful test. You want to finish on time. You want to be confident, and you want to pass. You want to remember everything that you have studied so hard for. You are certain in your answers. You've done the work that's necessary. Imagine yourself taking this test with grace, ease, and confidence. I want you to start to tell yourself that you can trust in your mind to recall what it needs so that you can rise to this challenge with strength and certainty. Be certain that you have the answers. Believe, don't doubt. Focus, be sharp, and be prepared. Allow yourself to get the rest, to fuel your body, and to feel good about everything that you have done. And trust in the fact that you have prepared yourself in this moment to embrace the pressure. Let that pressure fuel you for your success. Understand that you are capable of defying the odds. Own the moment, and I promise you, you will succeed. I hope that this is helpful. Everything right now is all about what you choose to focus on. So focus on what you want, not what you don't want, and make this the most successful test you have ever taken in your life. I hope this was helpful. Andrew, anything
amazing. Sorry.
else?
No, I just, amazing presentation. Anyone have any questions for Meryl at all about anything? I think it was a really good segue because I started off by showing them my flag football highlights. That's how I teach my class. And then Meryl is, she's someone who motivates me. I'm up early. You probably have noticed that about me. She's up before me. She's at the gym every morning at like 5 a.m. with this other dude, Angel. And she works really hard. She's a professor. She's a consummate businesswoman and really inspirational person. So I love doing her course. I love the programs that she does. And she does, executive coaching and mind power coaching and a lot of things. I've seen her take a lot of people from places of self-doubt and anxiety to places of great success. In my business group, especially some women who are not confident public speakers or who didn't really put themselves out there. And now, some of them, their businesses are booming right now. I think they're gonna, retire their husbands off of their success. So it's been really, really great to see. And I appreciate you, Meryl. Yeah, Maria said, thank you, very grounding. And if you want to put your information and, about how to reach you and about how to join your course, I'm sure that'd be very valuable. But yeah, thank you.
You got it. Thank
you
you
so
all for
much.
giving me that time and space to pour a little love into you. You're so welcome. I'm dropping my information into the chat. Please feel free to reach out. And if there's anything else that I can do to help, please don't hesitate. And maybe I'll see you in our course. Good luck on this test. You have it in you. Remind yourself, focus on what you want, and you will be successful. Take care, everybody.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
Have a
so
much.
great
much.
day. Thanks,
How come-
Andrew.
How come my Resilience Junkie t-shirt was not sleeveless?
It's a special one.
Oh, it's a special cut. Okay. I see how it goes. All right. Okay, cool. But Vicky, do you mind sharing back screen again during the next question? You want to stick around and try a question with us, Meryl? One
Sure,
question?
I'll stick around for one question.
Yeah, exactly. One question. All right. So is the tape recording admissible as evidence? A plaintiff sued defendant for wrongful death arising out of a traffic collision between the plaintiff's decedent and the defendant. At trial, the investigating police officer authenticated tape recording of shift and dictation of comments used in preparing the written report of her factual findings. She has testified that the tape recording was accurate when made and that she currently has no clear memory of the details in the investigation. Nice habit, Vic. Is the tape recording admissible as evidence? Yes, under the recorded recollection exception to the hearsay rule. Yes, under the public, sorry, I was launching the poll. Yes, under the public records exception to the hearsay rule. No, because it's hearsay and a police report being offered against a defendant in a wrongful death case. No, because the police report itself is the best evidence. So you would be shocked, Meryl, but the class already is jumping on the right answer all in unison. This is like to them a super easy question. To you, it's like, what a ridiculous question, right? But to them, it's like super easy. Does anyone want to explain to Meryl why they think they know the answer? Anyone want to teach Meryl today? Teach the professor? I guess I'll be the teacher then. So the class is going with A, right? The class is saying that this is going to be a recorded recollection. So there's certain times where hearsay, which is an out of court statement brought into evidence in order to prove the truth of the matter asserted, we're not going to bring it into evidence because it's unreliable. Like, let's say Tommy's convicted of a crime, and then we bring a statement from Meryl that says, you know, Tommy did it. Like, okay, we're going to bring that statement in to show that Tommy did the crime. That's pretty ridiculous. Maybe Meryl's friends with Tommy. Maybe Meryl has like, it's just a very unreliable statement. But there's some things known as exceptions to hearsay, where we're actually going to allow it in because under the circumstances, it's so verifiable. It actually is reliable. And here, one of these exceptions is the recorded recollection. There's certain conditions that must be met. And it's exactly what Vicky highlighted, that the statement was accurate when it was made. It was, you know, about what they were presently witnessing, and that they have no current memory of it now. And it literally says here, it was accurate when it was made. She currently has no clear memory of it. And it was, you know, used in preparing the written report. So it was like at the time that it occurred. So yeah, we like A here, right? Oh, and Alex was saying in the chat that she has no memory as accurate was made. So let's see if A is the correct answer. It is. Look, so the class was right on top of that. And it just goes to show you all something. Someone like Meryl, who's brilliant, you know, a seasoned professional, she's literally the top of her field. This stuff is so nuanced and specific that, like, give yourself some credit. You know, all of you knew this was a super easy question. This is not an easy question. It's just you really have been putting in the work to make it an easy question. And that's what we're going to do on test day. We're going to, you know, have a lot of questions that are going to be easy to us, but they're not really easy questions. They're only easy because of the work that we put in. So Meryl, I steal a lot of your, you know, stuff. Your sauce is dripping all over this class for sure. So appreciate you. Yeah, she's saying trust in your answers. I taught the class a lot about, you know, your subconscious and the idea that there's actually calculations being made and your gut is tied to your brain. So like if an answer jumps out at you, there's probably a reason why, because subconsciously, you know, you've done some calculations that maybe give that answer some merit. So, you know, Meryl has a lot of great, you know, advice for test taking and for anxiety and for things. And I incorporate them in my own life, and we're really grateful to have you here, but I'm not going to force you to stick around and do too many more questions, Meryl. So thank you very much. All right, take care. Have a good one. All right, I'm going to put on
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. I'll put this one on the chat about what we are on the cram guide, what we learned from it, which is a recorded recollection is an exception to hearsay. It must be accurate when made. They have no current recollection, and it describes events that were perceived, right? Is that what it says? Fresh in their mind. It was made when it was fresh in their mind. Yeah, I'll just say that. And it was made when it was fresh in their mind. Cool. Is Meryl still here?
No, she left.
You think I impressed her? No, I'm just kidding. I need to tell everyone in my networking group, like, Andrew's a really good teacher. The students really like him. Okay, let's try the next one. Now, me and Meryl, cool. I have some people in that group. Let's skip this one. Yeah. Why did you highlight this one so crazily? Should we do it? You're highlighting, the way you highlight it scares me, but I'll try it. Okay. May the homeowner file a renewed motion for judgment as a matter of law and a motion for a new trial. Okay. A homeowner filed a diversity action against a plumber in federal court in state A. The homeowner alleged that the plumber failed to finish performing work on a $150,000 service contract concerning the installation of a bathroom in the homeowner's home. The plumber disputed the contract's validity at trial, testifying before the jury that the plumber and the homeowner never had a contract and the parties were joking when referring to a contract in their exchange emails. The plumber offered undisputed evidence that he is a contractor by profession who specializes in bathroom installation. At the close of evidence, the homeowner's attorney filed a motion for judgment as a matter of law, which the court rejected. The jury then returned a verdict for the plumber. May the homeowner file a renewed motion for JMOL and a motion for new trial. No, the homeowner may only file a motion for new trial, not a renewed motion for judgment as a matter of law. No, the homeowner may only file one of these motions, but not both. Yes, the homeowner may file both a renewed motion for judgment as a matter of law and a motion for a new trial, or yes, the homeowner may combine these motions with a motion for relief from judgment. Let's see. Take your time. All right, this is the first one. We have an even split, but take your time if any of y'all want to push it one way or the other. Any last votes? We got 50% participation. It's not bad. All right, so we have 46% on B and 54% on C. Anyone feel strongly that they know what the answer is? I have my vote, but
Yeah, it's C, because you can file both.
yeah, I think why can't you file both, right? I would
Yeah,
go
as
C.
long as they're timely filed, I don't see anything for A, because like A, I think like for the renewed motion for judgment as a matter of law, they already timely filed the first one. So, and they already came out with the verdict, so you have 28 days.
Yeah, because they filed the JMOL properly, they can file the renewed and they can also file for a new trial.
Yeah,
Would be my,
under alternative pleading, you would be able to file both because it was timely. You can file a motion for a new trial and JMOL as alternative pleading mechanism.
yeah, I'm not going to C. I hope it's C. I'll go C. Let's see. Let's literally see. You agree with C? All right, good. Pursuant to the federal rules of civil procedure, parties may file a renewed motion for judgment of matter of law in conjunction with a motion for new trial. I'll be honest, like this one seemed pretty clear to me, but then when we had a split, splits are never good. So a renewed motion for JMOL may be granted. The judgment is based on a verdict that reasonable persons cannot have reached, and the moving party has sought a judgment as a matter of law at the close of evidence. A motion for new trial is granted because of an error in the trial, because the verdict is against the way of the evidence. This is good stuff right here. Ready? Let me read this one slowly. A motion for a new trial is granted because of an error during the trial, because the verdict is against the weight of the evidence, because of juror misconduct, or because the verdict is excessive or inadequate. Because each motion has a different basis, they may be brought together. So the easy takeaway here is let's just call it a party. A party who properly raised a JMOL may raise a renewed JMOL and I don't like how it looks. A renewed JMOL and a motion for a new trial after the verdict. And honestly, just because it's so juicy and spicy, I think we should take this. Standards for new trial. Andrea's asking, what's the motto? I'll do a poll and ask the class what the motto is. If anyone has any mottos, she says she's making shirts. If anyone wants to give her ideas, she can make a shirt. Okay, so new trial would be, error during the trial. This is the one that's tested most often, I think. The verdict is against the weight of the evidence, the manifest weight of the evidence, they often say the verdict is against the weight of the evidence. Juror misconduct. Or the verdict is excessive or inadequate. And just because it can't hurt, JMOL/renewed JMOL, they say a reasonable person could not have reached the verdict, right? No reasonable juror could find, things of that nature. All right, cool. Good job. Good job. That was a tough one. I mean, the class was split. So if you got that one right, you know, you're in the majority. I'll say, because only 50% of people are participating, it looks like, and 50% of people got that one wrong. There should only be a few people left who've gotten every question right. So if you have got every question right, just be very proud of yourself. You're in the very slim majority here. All right. So, see what's going on with this kid. Chemco. A 16-year-old boy purchased an educational chemistry set manufactured by Chemco. A teenager invited his friend and classmate, the plaintiff, to assist him in a chemistry project. Referring to a library chemistry book on explosives and finding the chemistry set contained all the necessary chemicals, the teenager and the plaintiff agreed to make a bomb. During the course of the project, the teenager carelessly knocked a lighted Bunsen burner into a bowl of chemicals from the chemistry set. The chemicals burst into flames, injuring the plaintiff. Although the chemistry set was safe as possible and its educational benefits exceeded its risks, the set did not contain a warning that could be used to make dangerous explosives. So that last sentence is like critical. Like, it was as safe as possible, its educational benefits exceeded its risks, but it didn't contain a warning that could be used to make dangerous explosives. So it's like, okay, it doesn't seem like it was defectively designed or manufactured, but maybe there was an inadequate warning potentially. But how did the kid make the bomb? He went to the library and got a I mean, the kid went really far out of his way here, it seems like. Prevail because the chemistry did not contain a warning that its contents could be combined to form dangerous explosives. I don't love that answer here because, I mean, that makes you have to warn about everything in every situation. Like, you have, hey, if you go and combine this with that and do this research, then that could happen. I mean, that's a lot, right? Prevail because manufacturers of chemistry sets are engaged in abnormally dangerous activities. I don't like that. Not prevail because the teenager's negligence was the cause and fact of the plaintiff's injury, or not prevail because the chemistry set was as safe as possible, consistent with its educational purposes, and its benefits exceed the risks. I mean, here, all things considered, D's probably the best answer, right? But, you know, in the real world, I mean, you could say like, oh, you know, what is it, like Sudafed, they can't even sell it anymore. Like, you know, there's arguments to be made, but it wouldn't be for strict liability. I think it would be more of a negligence theory here. But here, if they're going for strict liability, they're going for a design defect. And the literal standard for a design defect is that the risk utility test. Now, the failure to warn, it says it didn't contain a warning that it could be used to make dangerous explosives, but it says that it contained necessary chemicals, and he referred to a library chemistry book on explosives and finding the chemistry set contained all the necessary chemicals. He really went out of his way to do it. So like, I think D is the stronger answer here. Again, the MBE is a tough test. I go with D though.
Isn't it also because it wasn't used in the intended way? Like, isn't that a reason why, if it wasn't
Well,
for the intended like the way it was designed?
Yes and no. I don't think that's an end all argument because, you know, people use lighters to light a lot of shit they're not supposed to. But if they use it to light, you know, a illegal substance, and in lighting the illegal substance, the lighter blows up and blows up on their hand, the lighter company, BIC, cannot be like, oh, well, that's not its intended purpose. You're not supposed to smoke the whatever with it, right? But it's like, that's a foreseeable misuse. So they can be held strictly liable for foreseeable misuse. But here it's because it's not a foreseeable misuse. It doesn't have to be the reason why it's intended, but it has to be a foreseeable use or misuse. So here they say the facts indicate it was exactly as designed. So it's a defective design case, and they would do the risk utility balancing test. In some jurisdictions, they would then consider the feasibility of alternative designs. Others then shift the burden to the defendant, require the manufacturer to show that the chemistry set was as safe as possible, which it all was. Now, the other answer people probably chose was A. Although warnings are often included with products, they are not required in all cases, and they're required if the product is dangerous in a non-obvious way. The manufacturer knows about the danger, and the danger is present when the product is, and here's what we're saying, used as is intended or used in another reasonable or foreseeable way. So that's the little caveat there, Heather, where it's like used as intended or, right, it's foreseeable that you're going to use a lighter to light whatever. It's a foreseeable that you're going to use a a bouncy ball to throw it at somebody's head or something, right? Like it's a foreseeable misuse. Okay, so the takeaway. Oh, Siri, don't be listening to me. Okay, so the takeaway here is pretty much a strict liability case for product defects based on design defect must prove the risk of designing it. It was designed outweighed the utility. There may be a need for the defendant to show that it was made as safe as possible. And another takeaway from this is strict liability for products defects can be present for intended use or foreseeable / reasonable misuse using a lighter to burn illegal substances. Right. Or using a lighter, like there's one, illegal substances, but there's one on the Q bank where it's for arson. Someone's trying to burn down a house, and in the act of burning down the house, like as he's trying to burn down the house, the lighter, malfunction and he injures his hand. And they say, can he recover? And it's yes, because arson is a foreseeable misuse of a lighter, right? It's foreseeable when you sell a lighter that they could burn stuff down. All right, let's try another one. So Andrea put this in the chat. I'll put it to the whole world to see. She said she's making shirts. I like eat what you cook, but I did steal that right from Meryl. Eat what you cook, but I do like that. But I did steal that from Meryl. Okay, is the deed valid? The owner of Blackacre is an elderly, unmarried man with no children and no surviving relatives. Damn, I feel for this man. Blackacre is a large property bordered by forests on the east aisle, a small stream on the west side, a large hill to the south, and a meadow to the north. All right, well, at least you got a nice little property. Sounds like Victoria's house, right? With a little pool. There are neighbors to the east, west, and south. The owner would like to leave Blackacre to the neighbor over the hill, but he neglected to do anything about it. So he wants to leave it to the neighbor over the hill. While on vacation in Europe, the owner suffered a bad fall and was hospitalized. The prognosis for his recovery is not good, and the owner became afraid that the state of his health may prevent him from returning home, so he hired an agent to handle his business affairs in the United States. Over the phone, the owner orally gave the agent authority to promptly convey Blackacre to the neighbor in person. The agent went to the neighbor's home with the proper documents, which the agent executed. On the deed, the agent signed the owner's name. Is the deed valid? Yes, because the agent was authorized to execute the deed. Yes, because the agent signed the owner's name. No, because the agent's authority was not in writing. No, because a non-attorney agent may not execute a deed. Um, okay. couple people are texting me that what they think it is, and I think it's that, but the class doesn't, which makes me a little bit nervous. Let's talk about this one. Any other guesses, thoughts? It's evening out a little bit. All right, between A and C, we seem to eliminate B and D. So agent was authorized to execute the deed, or the agent's authority was not in writing. Anyone have arguments for A or C?
I think it's C, in order to execute the deed, the agent's authority has to be in writing. It can't just, you have to have the, that's just, I know as a bright line rule that in order to sign a deed for it to be effective as an agent, it has to be in writing. That agent's authority must be in writing.
I agree with you. I mean, my gut is C. Anyone wanna detest that? Everyone agrees with that? I mean, everyone who's speaking up seems to agree with C, even though the majority of people picked A. My gut was C, and two other people DM'd me C, and you're saying C. I do think that, yeah, it's authority to execute, right? Executorship type agreement, right? I like C. What do you think, Vicky G? Before you click it, what do you really think? What'd you originally think? Or you were eating acai? You've always thought C. Your heart's with C? All right. If we go down together. Nice. All right, nice. I thought it was C too. At least I say that after. The deed is not valid because the agent not have written authority to sign it. Okay, here we go. The transfer happens by way of deed. A property is a formal legal document that transfers one person or entity's rights of ownership to another individual entity. The deed is the official proof of transfer for real estate, which can include the land on its own or land that has a house or other building on it. To be enforceable, the statute of frauds requires every deed to contain the following information. All right, so let's call this deed formalities under SOF. And what do we got? I wish I really feel like I feel like it's time for me to get multiple screens. Identification of grantor and grantee. Legal description of the property being conveyed. Words indicating that the deed is a conveyance. Signature of the party to be bound. So let's just simplify that. I mean, I feel like that didn't really tell me what I wanted to know, but can you scroll down a little bit? Under the here we go, under the equal dignities rule. That's what I wanted to learn about. Under the equal dignities rule. And I love learning, right? I had no idea. If you would have asked me at 12:20 on February 23rd what the equal dignities rule is, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But right now, we learned a new thing. I mean, I probably know what the concept is, but I didn't know it's called the equal dignities rule. What is it exactly? When the act performed, it makes sense, right? By an agent is required by law to be in writing, the agent's authority must also be in writing. Therefore, an agent signing a deed on behalf of a principal must have his or her authority. Let's just say written authority. All right, perfect. Equal dignities rule. All right, let's go to the next question. Hey, Vic, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
You there? Do you know what the equal dignities rule is?
yes. It
What's that?
is when an agent is doing something on behalf of the principal and that act itself, if that act itself needed to be in writing, then the authority of the agent needs to be in writing too.
Exactly. All right. Farah's saying, how do I not have two screens? I don't know. It's not the screen, it's the inputter. Okay, so in the suit, the result should be for what? Because a farmer's default on his loan, the bank foreclosed on the farm and equipment that secured the loan. Among the items sold at the resulting auction was a new tractor recently delivered to the farm by the retailer. Shortly after purchasing the tractor at the auction, the buyer was negligently operating the tractor on a hill when it rolled over due to a defect in the tractor's design. He was injured as a result. The buyer sued the auctioneer, alleging strict liability and tort. What? The auctioneer? The jurisdiction has adopted a comparative fault rule in strict liability cases. I mean, let's think about this one. In this suit, the result should be for whom? The plaintiff because the defendant sold a defective product that injured the plaintiff. The plaintiff because the defendant failed to inspect the tractor for defects prior to sale. Defendant because he should not be considered a seller for the purpose of strict liability and tort. Defendant because the accident was caused in part by the buyer's negligence. All right, here, listen up. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen and non-binaries. If you have a product defect case, you need to show that A, supplier, retailer, distributor, producer, manufacturer, wholesaler, I gave you 6 of them, placed a defective product in the stream of commerce, right? I never said auctioneer though, right? I said supplier, retailer, distributor, producer, manufacturer, wholesaler, a wholesaler, right? Manufacturer, supplier, producer, retailer, distributor, wholesaler, but none of them sound like auctioneer. So I'm rocking with C, right? That's not someone who can be found liable. They're just like, that's like a garage salesman person, right? Like they're not a seller for the purpose of strict liability and tort. Easy money right there. So we can just simply take away. Can we simply take away? We can simply take away that a design defect occurs when a producer, distributor, retailer, manufacturer, wholesaler, or supplier places a defective product in the stream of commerce. So one student messaged me, what's the answer if you sued the manufacturer? Can you scroll down to the answer choices? And can you look at the question? I just want to see something real quick. So what happened? He was riding the tractor and it rolled over and it was injured by the tractor's design. Well, if the manufacturer came after the designer, yeah, he would be liable because he was downstream. Anyone downstream of the defect can be held liable. So in that case, I mean, it makes sense. The chicken came before the egg, right? So it makes sense that the designer came before the manufacturer. How could you manufacture something that wasn't designed? So, and anyone downstream. Real quickly, did y'all know that the chicken came before the egg, or is that still up for debate? Does anyone debate me on that? I'll give you a chance. I'm sorry, the egg came before
How
the
is
chicken.
that the answer?
No, sorry, the egg came before the chicken. I give you guys didn't even debate me. The egg definitely came before the chicken, 100,000%. All right, next question. The egg came before the chicken. If they ask you in the test what came first, the chicken or the egg, the answer is the egg. Okay. What will the plaintiff prevail? I mean, unless the chicken was literally the first species ever created, you know, by God, then maybe the chicken, but otherwise the egg. Okay, so will the plaintiff prevail? A city owns and operates a large public auditorium. It leases the auditorium to any group that, you want to do this one? All right, fine. It leases the auditorium to any group that wishes to use it for a meeting, lecture, concert, or contest. Each user must post a damage deposit and pay rent, which is calculated only for the actual time the building is used by the lessee. Reservations are made on a first come, first served basis. A private organization that permits only males to serve in its highest offices rented the auditorium for its national convention. This private organization is not going anywhere. The organization planned to install its new officers at the convention. It broadly publicized the event, inviting members of the general public to attend the installation ceremony at the city auditorium. No statute or administrative rule prohibits the organization from restricting its highest offices to men. An appropriate plaintiff sues a private organization seeking to enjoin it from using the city auditorium for the installation of its new officers. The sole claim of the plaintiff is that the use of this auditorium by the organization for the installation ceremony is unconstitutional because the organization disqualifies women from serving in its highest offices. Will the plaintiff prevail? So there's a long-winded question, but it's like, so they own and operate the public auditorium, they lease it out, so it's, it's owned and operated by the city, it seems like it's a public forum, and they're saying that they won't allow this group to come in because this group only allows men in their highest offices. Yes, because the 14th Amendment prohibits such an organization from discriminating against women in any of its activities to which it has invited members of the general public. Yes, because the organization's use of the city auditorium for this purpose subjects its conduct to the provisions of the 14th Amendment. No, because of freedom of association protected by the 14th Amendment prohibits the city from interfering in any way with the organization's use of the city facilities. Or no, because the organization is not a state actor and therefore its activities are not subject to the provisions of the 14th Amendment. I don't want to tell you who laid the egg because some people have really sincere beliefs, and I don't want to tell you who laid the egg. But I have an idea that it was the predecessor to the chicken. Okay, so anywho, I really don't want to, and I respect all sincere beliefs. All right, everyone's picking D here. You like D, Vic? You think D's the right answer is a better question? You do think D's the best answer? This question kind of bothers me, but like it's a private
Hey,
organization.
Andrew,
Go ahead.
where's the line when like, because I mean, obviously I agree that it's deep, but like when state action is like on the
Intertwined.
line with the private action to where the private group would, or private act or private organization would that be implicated by the state action? Like, where's that line?
That's
Like
a
for like
very
these type
hard
of
line
events.
to draw, you know what I mean? That's why constitutional law is tough, and that's why even this question itself, I don't love. I don't love con law. You know, every new president has a new interpretation of the Constitution. Every new Supreme Court has a new interpretation of it. Where that line is drawn is not so clear, but it's fact pattern specific. If they say like it's super state involvement, then it's going to be state action. If they're like, oh, the state is just like, randomly throwing them a bone every once in a while, then I think it wouldn't be involvement. I tend to think the answer is D here, unless anyone wants to save us from the wrong answer. All right, let's rock with it. Nice. I mean, yeah, they're a private organization. How could the state govern them? I mean, I don't think it's smart to have only men. Shit, if I had only men at the top of my company, we'd be going down fast. The 14th Amendment prohibits state action, but not private action. Therefore, the prohibition of women from serving as officers in this organization is not unconstitutional. So, I mean, I guess the way we could say this is an organization that is private is not subject to governmental, I'd say not governmental regulation, but scrutiny, and can have a policy of only male leaders. I mean, it's kind of like in a lot of sports, they have only like male coaches and executives, but then the Spurs hired a female coach, and then I heard Popovich it's the end for him, his career. Sad.
Could you also do a takeaway from that it's not a substantial government action sorry, I just lost
You're fine. You're fine. I get what you're saying. Like it's fine. I get it. An organization is private and not substantially intertwined, right? With
yeah, it wasn't enough to amount to government action just because they allowed them to use the building. That was my
exactly. That's what I'm, like just being allowed to use a public facility and the group invites the public is not enough.
The only reason why I was asking is, like sometimes, like I guess in this case, this auditorium would have been a designated public forum, and I'm always curious about like, when the private actions.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
That's
Curiosity
fine.
really killed the cat. We're not going to stay curious. And as the test winds down, less curiosity, more just like what is super clear, bright line rule. And remember, the weeds, the sauce, don't get lost in it. Just like, okay, bright line rule, private organization not subject to state regulation. What examples are there that might be subject to state regulation? I don't know. Maybe we'll see your question, maybe we won't, but let's just focus on what's in front of us. And let's see. Should the court grant the corporation's motion to dismiss? I don't know. An illustrator from State B sued his former employer, a State A corporation, in the federal district court in State B. The illustrator had worked at the corporation's headquarters in State B. The complaint asserted that the corporation violated federal employment law and breached the illustrator's employment contract. The illustrator is seeking $50,000 in damages. The corporation filed a motion to dismiss, asserting that the court lacks subject matter jurisdiction over the illustrator's employment contract claim. I mean, my question is it out of the same transaction or occurrence or common nucleus of operative fact, and they can exercise supplemental jurisdiction? Maybe, possibly. Let's check it out. Yes, because the corporation is incorporated in State A, which means there's no complete diversity. Yes, because the amount in controversy does not exceed $75,000. No, because the illustrator's employment claim arises from the same transaction or occurrence as the federal employment claim. No, because the federal court has personal jurisdiction over the corporation, given that its headquarters are located in State B. You good, Alex? Okay, so I have a student who's fighting with himself, but most of the class seems to agree what's going on here, right? Take your time on this one, though. All right, cool. The class seems to mostly agree. I mean, my thought process here before a student tried to argue with herself was that the first claim is in as a federal question. And now we're trying to use supplemental jurisdiction to bring it in. But is it related to the same transaction or occurrence? He'd worked there and they violated employment law and they breached his employment contract. They sued him. I mean, it seems to be pretty related. So I think C would be the best answer. We don't need diversity because the original claim's not in for diversity. The class seems to think it's C. Anyone disagree with C? Wholeheartedly? If not, we'll go down together. I like C. You like C, Vicky? All right, let's go with it. Nice. So yeah, supplemental jurisdiction allows a federal court with original subject matter jurisdiction to hear other claims arising on the same transaction or occurrence as the original claim, even they do not have independent grounds for federal jurisdiction. The underlying basis for subject matter jurisdiction may be either federal or diversity. So B, people may have been tempted. B is incorrect. The state above where diversity is satisfied here is not dispositive. Well, that's what A is saying too. The basic for SMJ is not diversity, but federal question. A state above, you don't, whether diversity is satisfied is irrelevant. So, okay. If a claim is in federal court under the federal question doctrine, another claim arising out of the same transaction or occurrence can be brought in via supplemental jurisdiction, and it does not matter if the new claim does not meet diversity, because the basis for being in federal court is federal question jurisdiction. So everyone make sure you read slow, read carefully. You don't want to just jump to diversity. It could be a federal question like this one indeed was. All right, Vicky G. Wow, your hair looks nice. Did you get it done or something? You did? Where'd you go?
Yesterday. I cut it yesterday.
You get personal service there?
Yeah, that was my dad. He brought me a cortadito
Cortadito,
And-
of course.
y croquetas.
And croquetas. So, is
Yeah.
your family Cuban?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just would never guess with the signs. Okay. In this action, who should prevail? It's a good croquette. It looks pretty solid. Damn, I want a croquette now. So businessman owned 2 adjacent parcels, Blackacre and Whiteacre. Blackacre fronts on a poor unpaved public road, while Whiteacre fronts on Route 20, a paved major highway. 15 years ago, the businessman conveyed to his son, together with a right of way 25 feet over the east side of Whiteacre to Route 20. At that time, Blackacre was improved with a 10-unit motel. 10 years ago, the businessman died. His will divides Whiteacre to my son for life, remainder to my daughter. Okay, 5 years ago, the son executed an instrument in the proper form of deed purporting to convey Blackacre and Whiteacre to a friend in fee simple. But the son only had a life estate in Whiteacre. What did he have in Blackacre? He had Blackacre, right? He had Blackacre and a life estate. Can you kind of highlight these things? It says 5 years ago, the businessman conveyed to his son Blackacre together, right? So the son was conveyed Blackacre, and then the son also had Whiteacre for life, remainder to daughter. All right, cool. 5 years ago, he executed an instrument in power form of deed, purporting to convey Blackacre and Whiteacre to a friend in fee simple. The friend then enlarged the motel to 12 units 6 months ago, and the son died, and the daughter took possession of Whiteacre. She brought an appropriate action to enjoin the friend from using the right of way. That's a tough question. In this action, who should prevail? The daughter, because merger extinguished the easement. The daughter, because the friend has overburdened the easement. The friend, because he has an easement by necessity. Or the friend, because he has the easement granted by the businessman to the son. Yeah, everyone can take a minute to read back over this one, me included. All right, any thoughts? Let's see. All right, so people picking A. Does someone people A, some people picking D, some people picking C. Okay, does anyone want to try and explain what's going on to me and see if I agree with them?
I chose A because I read it back. So the businessman had 2 pieces of property. And in 15 years ago is the first transaction he did. He conveyed Blackacre together together with a right of way by like 25 feet wide over the east side of Whiteacre to Route 20. So the son received Blackacre with an easement to Route 20. But then 10 years ago, he devised Whiteacre to the son, which is the other parcel, with the remainder to the daughter. So the son currently has life estate in Whiteacre, and he still owns Blackacre because of the previous conveyance that the businessman gave him. So for what I remember in property is usually when you have a merger, which is you own like 2 pieces of property that are side by side. They could say like it had been broken apart and like conveyed to 2 different people at the time. But once someone has both of them together again, you can't have an easement over the merged property, because then you have like it's not fair. You can't have it over a single piece of property that you completely own.
Right. I have a problem with that argument though. I don't think it would necessarily merge when you have a life estate and an adjoining property, because you're not the owner, right? If you
I agree.
go, who said I agree?
Wow.
Can you explain that? Because I mean, I don't want to stand up, but if you
So
agree, it makes
I
me more
don't
confident.
believe, because a life estate isn't a fee simple, which is basically what you need in order to have that merger. He has a fee simple in Blackacre, but because the remainder is gonna go to the daughter and the daughter will have fee simple, he only has a life interest.
Right. So what answer do you think it is?
D.
D as in dog. I think it's D as in dog too, actually, because there's no merger. I don't like A because a life estate's not going to merge. It would have been when you have a fee simple, like you were saying. And then, do they still have the easement granted? Did that still run with the land? It did say with a 25-foot easement that runs with the land. So I don't think it's an easement by necessity. I just don't like B. B is a ridiculous answer. I don't think it's an easement by necessity.
Not an
I like
easement by necessity because Blackacre has a right of way to a public road.
exactly right. Yeah, I like D. You like D, Vic? Nice. Good. Thank you, Fire, for that. I was not going to have enough confidence unless you chimed in. An easement is a non-possessory interest in land involving a privilege or advantage which one holds in the land of another. Easements may be binding, whatever, whatever. The real reason here is there was no merger, right? Can you scroll down? Two basic ways.
Wait, can you go back up to the when it says A? Can you scroll up? It
Yeah,
says no merger ever occurred because the son did not have a fee simple interest in Whiteacre. The son was the owner of Blackacre as a result of the businessman's conveyance to him 15 years ago, but he only had the life tenancy in Whiteacre.
beautiful. So in order for there to be a merger, the properties, let's call them adjoining properties, adjoining properties must be held in common ownership. If property A is owned
I would say
by,
ownership and fee simple.
yeah, for sure. And be simple. If property A is owned by X and adjoining property B is owned by X, comma, maybe I could do it like, no, I'm just kidding, that's a joke. And X has a life estate in adjoining property B, there is no merger because X does not have the simple in property B. Let me read that back. In order for there to be a merger, the adjoining properties must be held in common ownership and fee simple. If A is owned by X and X has a life estate in adjoining property B, there's no merger because X does not have fee simple in property B. This is confusing me. I'm going to make X a real person. If owned is owned by Tom, and Tom has a life estate, then Tom does not have fee simple, right? Tom's son Tom does not have fee simple. So look, if you got that one wrong, the majority of the class got that one wrong. And I had to kind of look at it sideways. I had to count on, let me hear the class argue this one out for a second.
Andrew,
right.
can you just add to that in order for there to be merger of an easement, because anyone just reading that statement, not doing this problem, would not know what type of merger we're talking about.
I mean, I disagree with you, but I'll add it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Like, what would you think it is? Merger of a contract and a deed that's talking about adjoining properties? That'd be crazy.
I
But
don't
anyway,
know. Just makes it clear.
for sure, for sure. All right, let's go to the next question. In English, the most proper sentence, free of grammatical errors, is the most concise. All right, let's skip this question because it's not concise. So the best argument in support of this motion would be what? A defendant negligently caused a fire in his house and the house burned to the ground. There's croquettes were burning too hot, right? As a result, the sun streamed into the plaintiff's yard next door, which had previously been shaded by the defendant's house. The sunshine destroyed some delicate and valuable trees in the plaintiff's yard that could grow only in the shade. The plaintiff has brought a negligent action against the defendant for the loss of the plaintiff's trees. The defendant has moved to dismiss the complaint. The best argument in support of this motion would be what? The defendant's negligence was not the active cause of the loss of the plaintiff's trees. The defendant's duty to avoid the risk created by a fire did not encompass the risk that sunshine would damage the plaintiff's trees. The loss of the trees was not a natural and probable consequence of the defendant's negligence. and the plaintiff suffered a purely economic loss, which is not compensable in a negligence action. I mean, this is one of those questions I think like it's pretty obvious. But take your time. Yeah, I think everyone pretty much understands this answer here, right? It's going to be B, basketball, right? Like that's too much, right? You don't have any duty to your neighbors having sunshine, right? You cause a fire, your house burned to the ground, you got a lot of shit on your plate, but what's not on your plate is your annoying ass neighbor saying like, well, by the way, you owe me more money. Like, bro, I have to deal with my house burning to the ground. You want me to also pay because your trees didn't get sunshine? Like, there's no right to sunshine. In Florida, the landmark case is Fontainebleau versus Eden Rock, meaning that Fontainebleau was able to build the spite wall and block the sunshine from the Eden Rock pool. And, that was found to be allowable. There was no right to sunshine. I mean, it would be a good argument that it was a nuisance maybe, or is for the purpose of annoyance, but still failing argument. The best answer here is B, basketball. The duty to avoid the risk created by fire and not encompass the risk that sunshine would damage the plaintiff's tree. Let's hit it, right? B is correct. It states the appropriate standard at issue. In action for negligence, defendant has a duty only to act in reasonable regard to foreseeable harm. Where the fire was negligently started in the home, he has a duty to avoid foreseeable risk posed by fire, would not have included sun damage to neighbors' trees. All right. So a homeowner's duty not to burn the house down does not extend to a duty to provide shade for the neighbor. I mean, it's kind of like a reading comprehension question. A lot of these are going to be reading comprehension questions. I had a student, she's a first-time test taker, and she was like, oh, what's the test going to be like? Are there going to be any of the same questions I've seen before? Are they going to be different? Are they going to be, I'm like, they're like literally going to be beyond different. Like, they're going to be brand new questions you've never seen before. And you just got to like think them all through, give them all their due diligence. And I would venture to say that 10 to 15% of the questions require absolutely no legal knowledge and are entirely reading comprehension questions, right? And so it's like if there's questions on there that like, any trained English reader could get right, you got to get those questions right. So just be very careful that any question that's in front of you could just be a reading comprehension question. Don't be thinking only about black letter law. Also take a step back and be like, what's this question asking? What's the answer, right? Okay, so what's the best argument for granting the motion? So police, who had probable cause to arrest a man for a series of armed robberies, obtained a warrant to arrest him. At 6 a.m., they surreptitiously entered the man's house and with guns drawn, went to the man's bedroom where they awakened him. Startled, the man asked, what's going on, right? Famous Marvin Gaye line. And an officer replied, we've got you now. Another officer immediately asked the man if he had committed a particular robbery, and the man said that he had. The police then informed him that he was under arrest and ordered him to get dressed. Charged with robbery, the man has moved to suppress the use of his statement as evidence. What's the best argument for granting the motion? The police did not give him the required Miranda warnings. The statement was not voluntary. He was not informed that he was under arrest until after the statement was made, or the police did not have a search warrant authorizing entry into the house. I'm just seeing these messages, Andre, you sent me. I love this shirt. It's so ridiculous that I actually love it. Yeah, I totally give it the seal of approval. Just print it, print 100,000 copies of it. Oh, but yeah, I gotta show people your album cover. But we'll do it at the end. We'll save album covers for the end. We're on a good roll right now. Yeah, what's the best argument here? I mean, it's gotta be Miranda, right? They weren't given their proper Miranda warnings. You agree, Vicky G? Yeah, you gotta say, hey, you have the right to remain silent. You are have entitled to an attorney, and if you cannot afford one, will be provided for you. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law, right? The police's fair to use Miranda warnings is the strongest basis to get suppressed. The man was very likely in custody given the time frame of the entry, even though he was in his home. Accordingly, the police cannot interrogate the man without first providing Miranda warnings. So, if a man is sleeping peacefully, I guess I should say sleeping because in English, the best sentence is the most concise. If a man is sleeping and the cops bust in with guns drawn and start asking questions, it is likely that the man was in custody. And Miranda warnings should have been given before a custodial interrogation. Right? You good, Vic? The croquetas are hitting good? When did the mojitos come? What's the best Cuban restaurant in Miami? The most authentic, best Cuban restaurant in Miami?
Versailles.
Yeah.
For real? All right.
Either that or El Rey de las Fritas. Like if you want more like a hamburger, like a lot of tourists from everywhere like to go there.
There you go. All right, Gabby's the spokesperson for Cuba, Vic. You don't even get it. No input.
I
Sherry?
like Casavana by my house in Miami Lakes.
All right, nice. I like El Rinconcito.
That's Puerto Rican, no?
I'm just fucking kidding. I was just joking. I didn't know that's Puerto Rican or Cuban. I don't speak Spanish. Okay, so an animator sued a cartoonist who owns a small store and the animator's former employer in a single count complaint in state a federal court. The animator is seeking $185,000 in damages for the cartoonist's alleged violation of federal employment law. The animator is concerned that the cartoonist may not have the assets to satisfy the eventual recovery he expects. Which motion filed by the animator's attorney is most likely to succeed? All right, so you're trying to like secure the money. What are you gonna do? Motion for summary judgment, motion for temporary restraining order, motion for preliminary injunction, or motion to attach $185,000 worth of the cartoonist assets. This cartoon is doing pretty good for himself. He got $185,000 worth of assets in 2025. Like, what cartoons are you drawing, dude? AI could draw all these cartoons. Again, this question was written a long time ago. I mean, there's still digital design careers out there. I just feel like, you know, if you are a professor right now and all you do is have notes and look down at your notes and then lecture, you're cooked. They're going to replace you with an AI robot in 2 to 3 years. You have to be able to teach without notes. You have to be spontaneous. You have to have some humanity or you're totally cooked. Lawyers too, but that'll take a little bit longer. Professors are going down first. But anywho, this question, I think, yeah, it's definitely going to be motion to attach, right? If you want to get the money, you're going to have to attach to the money. Nothing else would really do anything valuable here, right? You got to attach to the assets. How else would you be able to, you know, seize the property? So attachment is a process by which someone's property is seized in accordance with writ or judicial order for the purpose of securing a judgment not yet to be entered. Federal courts are authorized to issue provisional remedies such as attachments at any time following the commencement of the action for the purpose of securing satisfaction of a potential judgment. Therefore, moving for attachment is the best plan if he believes the cartoonist may be insolvent at the time of judgment. So if you file suit against someone and are worried they will not be able to pay the final judgment, the best motion is a motion to attach. What was it? Motion to attach, can you scroll down a little bit? To the assets, yeah. All right. My grandfather, he went to University of Penn for undergrad and law school, my father's father. His roommate in college was the author for the Phantom Toll Booth, like not the Not the writer, but the author. If anyone knows that book. The Phantom Toll Booth. That book? The Phantom Toll Booth. Yeah, this guy. The person who knew it was the author. That was my grandpa's roommate. Whoever drew this cover. Yeah, this guy, Jules Pfeiffer. That was my grandfather's roommate in undergrad. All right, anyway, next question. Not this one. You sure you want to do this one, Vic? Looks kind of long. All right, fine, fuck it. In this case, the court should hold that the county recorder dismissal of the clerk was what? A clerical worker. Oh, you want to do this one because it's about you working for the government and having opinions. Okay. A clerical worker, you better get this right, Vic. I'm asking, I'm counting on you. A clerical worker who's been employed for the past 2 years in a permanent position in the county public records office in a particular state. He's been employed there for 2 years. The clerk has been responsible for copying and file records of real estate transactions at office. The clerk works in a non-public part of the office and has no contact with members of the public. However, state law provides that all real estate records in that office are to be made available for public inspection. On the day of an attempted assassination of the government of the state was reported on the radio, the clerk remarked to a coworker, "Our governor is such an evil man. I'm sorry they did not get him." The clerk's coworker reported the remark to the clerk's employer, the county recorder. After the clerk admitted to making the remark, which is stupid, the county recorder dismissed him, stating, "There is no room in this office for a person who hates the governor so much." It's not stupid. You should always tell the truth. The truth will set you free. The clerk sued for reinstatement and back pay. His only claim is that the dismissal violates constitutional rights. In this case, the court should hold the county recorder's dismissal of the clerk was. So what do you think, Vicky? If you're working for a politician and you disagree with them or you don't like them, should you be dismissed? Let's see. Unconstitutional because it constitutes a taking without just compensation of the clerk's property interest in his permanent position with the county. Unconstitutional because in light of the clerk's particular employment duties, his right to express himself on a matter of public concern outweighed any legitimate interest the state may have had in discharging him. Constitutional because the compelling interest of the state in having loyal and supportive employees outweighs the interest of any state employee in his or her job or in free speech on a matter of public concern. That is a dangerous answer right there. Non-justiciable because public employee is a privilege rather than a right, and therefore the clerk lacks standing to bring this suit. What do you think, Vicky? What are you leaning towards? Do you think it is compelling that the state of having loyal and supportive employees outweighs the interest of any state employee in his or her job or free speech?
I think that explanation's a little intense. So I don't
In your
wanna-
current job, that's pretty much the vibes, right?
I mean, in any job I've had in government ever, you can definitely be fired for saying something
That's
public.
good. I think that's
Next-
really good for society that we live in a society where people feel scared to speak their minds. And that's how society is at the way top of our government. And our government is the world leaders. That's amazing for society. I love to hear that. But I do agree with you. I don't think that's the answer to this particular question, right? This particular question, what do you think the answer is?
Mm-mm-mm.
The class can help you.
Yeah, B.
Probably B, right? Because this dude's he's just putting records out. It's not like he's like, again, if your job is to like, speak on behalf of his policies and then you go behind his back and say his policies suck and you disagree with him, maybe then we can restrict your freedom of speech. But here it seems like in light of his particular employment duties, we're not gonna.
This would be different if it was like the chief of staff or the
Yeah.
press secretary or something.
If it
but-
was your boy Marco, he might be out on the street eating croquetas, right? All right, I think B is in basketball.
My boy.
Don't act like that's not your boy. You know that's your boy. Because the employees cut, is that your boy? Is it matter of public
My
concern?
senator for a lot of years. Why?
You're gonna get fired if you say it's not your boy, right?
I don't.
Okay. She's only saying it's his boy because she works for him. B is correct because the employee's comments had no impact on the performance of his official duties, and given that he was a citizen with the right to express his views, the court should hold that termination was unconstitutional. Can you go to the extended explanation? The extendo? If speech is not made pursuant to an employee's official duties and speech is a matter of public concern, courts must balance the employee's rights as a citizen to comment on a matter of public concern against the government's interest as employer in the efficient performance of public service. So U.S. Supreme Court has held that the firing of government employee for expressing disappointment that a political assassination attempt failed was invalid. All right, let's just go with that. So, I mean, that's really, if you're part of Trump's campaign and he would have got assassinated, attempted, and you're like, damn, I wish it hit him, they couldn't have fired you technically. But I'm sure that person would have found a way to
Well,
get fired.
campaign is different, no? The
Campaign is different. Yeah,
different
This is.
than the
I meant I'm not going to wish anything on anyone, so let's not even talk about that. But just saying, if someone were to get assassinated while a governor or in office, and then one of their employees said something, they can't get fired. I guess it's a very nuanced thing. Let's just say they're public employees may speak openly on matters of public concern, subject to a balancing test of how it affects their public office abilities, right? Like there's another one where it's like the dude is the person who's supposed to condemn houses and he's walking through the slums and he's like, oh, this place is so slummy that I wouldn't even do my work in these slums. Well, that statement is demonstrative of someone who's failing to perform their governmental duties. This is just demonstrative of a disgruntled employee. I'm sure, honestly, I don't think there's anyone that works for Ivis Prep that doesn't like me. Maybe there are, but I'll air them out real quick. Okay, can we do another question? There was one once upon a time. So what should the state A court do? You want to do this question? All right, why not? A man bought an antique car from a car dealer from state A. Under state A law, a person who buys from such a dealer acquires good title, even if the property was stolen from the previous owner. Okay. The man showed the car an antique car show in state B. A woman recognized the car as having been stolen from her. Under state B law, a person whose property is stolen may reclaim it, even if the current possessor is an innocent purchaser. The woman sued the man in state B court to reclaim the car. In his defense, the man claimed that he had good title under the law of state A. Nevertheless, state B court applied state B law and the woman prevailed. The man did not appeal. The sheriff had the car returned to state B and gave the woman possession of the car. Several months later, the woman moved to state A, bringing the car with her. The man brought a new suit against the woman in a state A court, claiming that the state B court in the prior suit should have applied the state A law, which protects innocent purchasers. The woman appeared and moved to dismiss the suit. What should the state A court do? So let's pull up. Okay. What should they do? Apply the federal law of goods because the car is moved in interstate commerce. Apply state A law because the car is currently located in state A. Dismiss the suit because the state A must give full faith and credit to the state B judgment, or remove the case to federal court because the car has moved in interstate commerce and therefore raises a federal question. Yeah, everyone's rocking with C here. There's not a single person who's going against C. We like C because full faith and credit. If one person goes down, we all go down. We all pick C, even me. C, right? C is correct. The full faith and credit clause of the Constitution prohibits state courts from related cases in which courts of another state have rendered final judgment, right? Pretty self-explanatory. I'll kind of recite that. Full faith and credit clause prohibits states from relitigating can you scroll up a little bit? Cases that were cases in which courts of another state have rendered final judgment. All right, let's do another one. I have a student at 2, so we're gonna have to move up a little quicker, but I think you guys know how that game goes. But not too quick that we get it wrong, you know what I mean? Just right. All right, in the prosecution of a defendant for assault, a witness is called to testify that the victim had complained to the witness that the defendant was the assailant. The witness's testimony is most likely to be admitted if the witness is a doctor whom the victim consulted for treatment, a minister whom the victim consulted for counseling, the victim's husband whom she telephoned immediately after the event, or the police officer whom the victim called on instructions from her husband. I mean, this one stands out as being an exception to hearsay, right? So admit if the witness is a doctor whom the victim consulted for treatment. No, because it's the victim's statement, not the doctor's statement. A minister whom the victim consulted for counseling. Maybe, but I like C the most. I mean, C is going to be, immediate. It's going to be right after the event, perception, present sense impression, something like that. Police officer who the victim called on instructions from her husband. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, B is the same thing as A. Like, it wouldn't be the minister, it would be the victim who said it to the minister. And then D, a police officer whom the victim called on instructions from her husband. Again, it's not that person. The only one would be C because it's immediately after the event. So I like C. You like C, Vic? The class likes C. We like C. Vic's like C. C for croquetas. C for Cuba. So an excited utterance, right? Or present sense impression, it could have been.
Andrew, could you just explain the reasoning again? Because I kind of
Yeah, it's just saying right here that it's immediately after the event. So it's either going to be an excited utterance or a present sense impression is an exception to hearsay. And the other ones, they just wouldn't come in because A and B are the doctor and the minister. No, the exception is for statements made to the doctor, statements made to the minister, not statements made by the minister or made by the doctor. And then what does D say? D's again, the police officer. There's literally no exception for D.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so A and B, that's what I thought. It was like backwards. So
They're backwards, yeah. A and B
you're
are
not
back,
going to bring statements from a doctor talking to the patient.
unless it's a business record exception, but not as like a statement for purposes of medical diagnosis.
Right.
Right. Let's do another one. All right, nice and short. Short and sweet, like Sabrina. The audio tape is most likely to be subject to Sabrina, if, in a suit by a plaintiff against the defendant, the plaintiff sought to Sabrina an audio tape on which the defendant had narrated his version of the dispute to his attorney. Counsel defendant moves to quash the Sabrina on the ground of privilege. The audio tape is most likely to be subject to Sabrina if the defendant played the audio tape for his father to get his reactions. The lawsuit involved alleged criminal behavior by the defendant. The defendant has been deposed and there's no good reason to believe that the audio tape may contain inconsistent statements, or the defendant is deceased and thus unavailable to give testimony in person. This one's kind of very similar to the other one. It's like, which one of these would be, not privileged? Well, it's a subpoena. It's an audio tape. I think A makes it outside the privilege, right? Oh, you guys don't have a poll? Or do you have a poll?
I do.
You have a poll? You have a poll, Alex? Oh, yeah. What do you think it is, Alex? No poll.
Either A or C.
All right, what's your gut tell you?
I don't know.
All right. Well, here, I'll show you what the class thinks and see.
A probably because
A, gut
called other
answer. A,
people.
right? You played it for someone else. How is it privileged if your dad heard it? Right? We agree. It's played for someone else. If the defendant played the audio tape for his reaction, it would be broken because it's no longer confidential, right? So attorney-client privilege will not apply to recordings that are played for third parties, right? Attorney-client privilege will not apply to recordings that are played to third parties, right? They essentially have broken confidentiality. All right, there's a new one. A few more. I've lost count. I don't know where we're at. I have no idea. I just know that we're gonna keep going until we finish. Is the testimony of the second witness admissible? Let's see what he's trying to say. In a civil trial, civil, for fraud arising from a real estate transaction, like just in general, always take note at the beginning if it's civil or criminal, because there's different ramifications, and that's just like a key thing to take note of. Like, I don't know if it's for this question, but I'm always like civil. Okay, got it. In a civil trial for fraud arising from a real estate transaction, the defendant claimed not to have been involved in the transaction. The plaintiff called a witness to testify concerning the defendant's involvement in the fraudulent scheme. To the plaintiff's surprise, however, the witness testified that the defendant was not involved and denied having made any statement to the contrary. The plaintiff is now called a second witness to testify the first witness had stated, while the two were having a dinner conversation, that the defendant was involved in the fraudulent transaction. So is it admissible? No, because a party cannot impeach the party's own witness. Not true. No, because it is hearsay without any exception. There's always merit to that. You know, if one of the answers is hearsay, run it through the ringer and make, is it hearsay? Is it not a court statement proffered in evidence in order to prove true or matter asserted? Yes, but only to impeach the first witness. Definitely a good answer. Yes, to impeach the first witness and to prove the defendant's involvement. Well, was the second statement, which was a inconsistent statement that will come into impeach, was it made under oath? No, it was during a dinner conversation. I like C. Everyone like C here? You like C, Vic? C for croquetas, or what do you think? Nice. Although there's no exemption or exception to the hearsay rule that makes a testimony of the segment substantively admissible, nonetheless may be used to impeach as a prior inconsistent statement. So in most cases, prior inconsistent statements are admissible only to impeach the witness. This is in contrast to the hearsay exemption for prior inconsistent statements when the statement was made under oath at a prior trial, hearing, or another proceeding, or in deposition, and may be used as substantive proof. So that's a key distinguisher. I think Sean had asked that about that the other day, which is prior inconsistent statements may be used to impeach. They may also come in substantively if they are made under oath. Why? Because it's made under oath, right? Under literal oath, subject to cross, all these things. All right, let's do another one. We've only done 14 questions today? Is that possible? No way, right? That's all
No,
we
I
done?
think we're on like 20.
Yeah, there's no way we've only done
I'm
14.
keeping track. I don't think that we're at 14.
How's that possible?
I think we're at like 18.
Sometimes it's off. I don't know.
Can you go to, have you done any questions on your own today on Adaptware?
Yeah, I did 9 this
Vic,
morning.
just hit stop and then we'll see and then we can go
Yeah,
back.
wait, let's just hit stop and see, yeah.
20.
We've done 20, I was gonna say, all right, let's do 5 more. Good job.
How do I get out of this page?
There's no way, you gotta press stop for now. We're gonna have to do 5 more questions. I knew your shit was lying though. Just press stop for now, and then just load up 5 more. All right, good job, everyone. We did 20 questions. Now let's do 5. Final stretch. What do I always say? If you remember one thing, finish strong. How you finish is everything. I was showing you my highlights for the thing, and I didn't get to show you the best play I made of the year, my Saquon Barkley moment. We were tied in the last game of the season, and we had the ball at the 1 yard line, and like our 1 yard line, and the quarterback, I was like, bro, you can't throw it all the way down the field. He's like, yeah, I know. I was like, all right, so just give me the ball on a quick play. I'll get like 20 yards and then throw the Hail Mary. Broski gave me the ball and I just took it to the house. 100 yards later, gone, game-winning touchdown, and it was crazy. I mean, as crazy as intramural flag football could be. But point being, like, you know, I knew it. I was like, bro, just give me the ball. I'm going to the house. Like, it's the end. When everyone else is tired is when I usually perform the best. Same thing right now. People are like, oh, are we done yet? We're just getting started, right? 5 more questions. Let's really lock in and get these questions right. All right. On November 15th, the contractor in a signed writing contract with the homeowner for an agreed price to personally remodel the homeowner's kitchen according to specifications provided by the homeowner and to start the work on December 1st. The contractor agreed to provide all materials for the job in addition to all the labor required. On November 26th, the homeowner, without legal excuse, repudiated the contract. Notwithstanding the homeowner's repudiation, however, the contractor subsequently purchased $5,000 in materials that could only be used in remodeling the homeowner's kitchen. Idiot, right? Why would you buy materials after he repudiated? That's stupid, right? And promptly notified the homeowner, I will hold you to our contract. It was already a repudiation. If allowed to perform, the contractor would have made a profit of $3,000 on the job. So how much should he get? Nothing, because he failed to mitigate damages. $3,000 is expectation damages. $5,000 on a restitutionary theory, or $5,000 his reliance damages, plus $3,000 his expectation damages. What's the thought here? So he was going to make $3,000. That was his expectation damages. He went out and purchased $5,000 for materials he could have used. So should he get that in restitution? Are those disgorging ill-gotten gains? Should he get them in reliant? I mean, I just don't see the argument. I think you're an idiot for those 5,000. I think the only thing you can recover here will be the 3,000. Does anyone disagree with me on that logic?
Had he purchased the $5,000 of materials before the anticipated repudiation, would then reliance come in?
100,000%. I mean, maybe not reliance, but he would get that money. Yeah, like, yeah, you know, because it's profit. So now you need to get $3,000 expectation, but you spent $5,000. Now the key thing would be, could you use those materials in another job? Because if you could use those materials in another job, you couldn't be doubly enriched. But if it said, you know, he bought them specifically for this job and there's no way to get any, you know, no way to resell them, then yeah, you would get the 5 plus the 3. But here, I think buying the 5 was stupid. So I think you can only get the 3. You agree, Vic? For the 3-piece and a biscuit. Dwayne Wade, they got the statue of him. You like that statue of Dwayne Wade? It's pretty good, right? The contractor may recover his damages, expected profit on his contract with the homeowner. He cannot, however, bring the 5,000 because he incurred the expenses after being notified of the repudiation. So key takeaway here is a party can not recover for materials purchased after a clear repudiation because it was unreasonable to buy additional materials at that point. Does that make sense? I saw this joke, Vic, where they had a statue of UD, Udonis, and it was him sitting on a bench outside the stadium, like on the bus stop, but it was a joke. It was pretty hilarious. Cause you know, he sat on the bench a lot. That's the joke. Okay, so charged with murder, how should the student be found? A college student and his friend were watching a football game. Oh, nice, favorite football, hooray. At the student's home when they began to argue. The friend became abusive and the student was asked to leave. The friend refused, walked into the kitchen, picked up a knife, and said he would cut the student's heart out. Holy Edgar Allan Poe. The student pulled a gun from under the sofa, walked to his front door, opened it, and told the friend to leave. All right, so we got a knife and a gun. The friend again refused. Instead, he walked slowly toward the student, brandishing the knife in a threatening manner. The student, rather than running out the back door, shot in the friend's direction, intending only to scare him. However, the bullet struck the friend, killing him instantly. Charged with murder, he should be convicted because the use of deadly force was unreasonable in his circumstances, convicted because he had a clear opportunity and duty to retreat, acquitted because he did not intend to kill the friend, and acquitted because he was acting in self-defense and had no duty to retreat. So who's here? The student. So it's, you know, friend is abusive, student asked him to leave. Friend refused, walked into the kitchen and says he's going to cut the student's heart out. Student pulls a gun from under the sofa, walks it, pulls it, and shoots him, intends him to leave. Friend refused. Instead, he walks towards him, brandishing a knife. Student shoots him and kills him. So charged with murder, everyone's right here, right? He's going to be acquitted, right? He was definitely acting in self-defense and no duty to retreat. The answer is D. You know what kind of sucks about this, though? He's acquitted of murder, but he still might go down for something, right? Voluntary manslaughter, maybe, or, you know, something. And it's pretty fucked up because your friend's the one who started it all. I'm not saying he would go down for anything here. We don't know if he'd be entirely acquitted. I'm just saying, be careful who you hang out with. Be careful who you invite over your house to watch football, because it can end up in a really sticky situation. But yeah, I think D, right? He was acting in self-defense and had no duty to retreat. You agree, Vic? You like D? All right, nice. D is correct. The college student, when he shot his friend, was acting in self-defense and should be acquitted of murder. A claim of self-defense will be successful against a murder charge if the action resulting in death is reasonably necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. In this case, the friend had verbally threatened him, so it's like, you know, if a man brandishes a knife at a student and the student draws his gun like Yosemite Sam, right? And shoots back, the student should be successful in a claim of self-defense. Right. I mean, it's at it may be right. I don't know if it's voluntary manslaughter here. Like, you know, I'd have to go to court and see if it all comes down. But like, if I was the defendant, I think I can get him off of everything, right? He really was just defending himself. It was clear self-defense. I don't think it was imperfect self-defense because, you know, a knife plus a gun. I mean, I'd probably pick the gun most matchups, but still, it's not unreasonably unfair. Some pretty good knife wielders. I think in Glasgow, Scotland, they have a lot of stick-ups with knives. All right, so was the bakery legally justified in rejecting the tender of 5,000 pounds of flour? So a wholesaler contracted an assigned right to sell bakery 10,000 pounds of flour each week for 10 weeks. The flour to be delivered to the bakery on Mondays and payment to be made on Wednesdays of each week. The bakery did all of its weekly bread baking on Tuesdays. On Monday morning of the first week, so that's a key sentence. The bakery did all of its bread baking on Tuesday. So it's an installment contract, right? And it's supposed to come in on Mondays, and usually there's an opportunity to cure, but like they need the bread by Tuesday. I agree. Like we got to start breaking bread by Wednesday at my company, like money making Monday, Tuesday, we're baking bread, by Wednesday, we're eating. Like that's how business goes. On Monday morning of the first week, the wholesaler tendered delivery of 8,000 pounds of flour to the bakery, and the bakery accepted on the wholesaler's assurance that the remaining 2,000 pounds would be delivered later that evening, which it was. The bakery paid for both deliveries on Wednesday. On Monday of the second week, the wholesaler tendered delivery of 5,000 pounds of flour to the bakery and said that the remaining 5,000 pounds could be delivered on Monday, could not be delivered on Monday, but would be delivered by Wednesday. The bakery rejected the tender. Was the bakery legally justified in rejecting the tender of 5,000 pounds of flour? The traditional answer to this is no, because they'll have an opportunity to cure. But because they said that they did all their bread baking on Tuesdays, it's going to be too late, right? Yes, because the bakery was legally entitled to reject any tender that did not conform perfectly to the contract. That's the perfect tender rule, but this is a installment contract, so we don't love that rule. Yes, because the tender was a substantial impairment of that installment cannot be cured. Beautiful answer. No, because the tender was not a substantial impairment of the entire contract and the wholesaler given assurance of a cure. It doesn't matter, you couldn't cure it. And no, because accepting the first 8,000 on Monday of the first week, the bakery had waived the condition of perfect tender, not reinstated. No, simply understand UCC perfect tender rule, installment contract as an exception to the perfect tender rule. There's going to be an opportunity to cure, but there's no opportunity to cure if by the time the cure occurs, it's amounted to a substantial impairment, which it did right here. You like B, Vic? You like basketball? What is your favorite sport, Victoria?
My favorite sport to follow is basketball.
What's your favorite sport to play?
None.
Nice, good answer. All right, installment contract is an exception to the perfect tender rule, where there will be an opportunity to cure. However, if the cure will be too late, what did the question ask? Let's say party.
It was like
Make-
about baking bread, like having flour to bake bread.
Right, the non-breaching party may be entitled to reject the shipment, right? It said, can they reject the tender? Yeah, perfect. All right, let's do a couple more. Almost done. 2 more, 3 more, I can't remember. A few more. All right, which of the following, oh yeah, this one's easy. Which of the following items of, I was like, which of the following items of offered evidence is the court most likely to admit? A plaintiff has brought a products liability action against the defendant, the manufacturer of a sport utility vehicle that the plaintiff's decedent was driving when she was fatally injured in a rollover accident. The plaintiff claims that design defect in the vehicle caused it to roll over. The defendant claims that the cause of the accident was the decedent's driving at excessive speed during an ice storm. Eyewitness to the accident has given contradictory estimates about the vehicle's speed just before the rollover. It is also disputed whether the decedent was killed instantly. Which of the following items of evidence is the court most likely to admit? A videotape offered by the defendant of a test conducted by the defendant showing that a sport utility vehicle of the same model the decedent was driving did not roll over when driven by a professional driver on a dry test track at the top speed testified to by the eyewitness. A videotape offered by the plaintiff on a television news program about sport utility vehicles that includes footage of accident scenes in which the vehicles had rolled over. Evidence offered by the defendant that the decedent had received 2 citations for speeding in the previous 3 years. Photographs taken at the accident scene and during the autopsy that would help the plaintiff's medical expert explain to the jury why she concluded that the decedent did not die instantly. This one's kind of a process of elimination. Like A is vehicle of the same model, right? But this isn't the one that they're talking about, right? We're talking about this, like a design defect, a videotape offered to a defendant by a test conducted by the defendant, right? The defendant conducted the test. I mean, that's kind of unreliable. A videotape, a news program of accident scenes in which the vehicles would roll over. I mean, that has nothing to do with this accident itself. Evidence offered by the defendant that had received 2 citations for speeding in the previous 3 years. Again, that's specific acts, and this isn't coming in for motive, intent, mistake, lack of mistake, identity, common scheme, or plan, or consciousness of guilt. Photographs, right? What's wrong with the photos? Look at this photograph. Right? I like D. Look at this photograph. Evidence of photographs taken the scene and during the autopsy to help the plaintiff's medical expert explain her opinion that the scene did not die instantly is most likely to be admitted. They can be, instructed to use the evidence only for the purpose that is not prejudicial or potentially confusing to the jury or the other answer choices, right? Out of court statement, it's just the scene was not a professional driver, didn't occur during a snowstorm. It just lacks similarity. The second one, it's just about sport utility vehicles in general, not necessarily the model used. And then C, inadmissible character evidence. So photographs are admissible if helpful for the jury and authenticated, but it's pretty easy. Authenticate a photograph. Need a witness. Or you just need a witness to testify that it is accurate. Right? A photo is not self-authenticating, as you all know. If photos were self-authenticating, then everyone on social media would be sexiest person of the year. All right, let's do the next question. Not this one, though. I mean, actually, I like this one. Let me do this one. All right, never mind. All right, let's do this one. If the teenager is charged with manslaughter, her best defense would be what? Okay. A teenager's high school teacher told her that she was going to receive a failing grade in history, which would prevent her from graduating. Furious, she reported to the principal that the teacher had fondled her and the teacher was fired. Yikes, a fucking daisy. A year later, still unable to get work because of the scandal, the teacher committed suicide. Kids, man. The teenager, remorseful, confessed that her accusation had been false. If the teenager is charged with manslaughter, the best defense would be committed no act that proximately caused the teacher's death, did not intend to cause the teacher's death, did not act with malice, acted under extreme emotional distress. D, no way. There's no duress to, a homicide case. Malice, I mean, it seemed pretty malicious, literally. Did not intend to cause the teacher's death. I mean, it doesn't matter because it's, manslaughter. We don't need that specific intent. A is the only good answer here, right? Committed no act that proximately caused the teacher's death. I don't think the kid's gonna go down in real life for manslaughter here, but this kid needs parenting. And this teacher needs to learn how to not let kids affect you so much, right? We could all learn from this question. So a teacher committed suicide and committed no act proximate. Defendant will only be able to criminally liable for foreseeable consequence of action. The suicide of the teacher is not foreseeable consequence of the teacher's lying. So if a kid makes fun of a teacher and lies, and the teacher later commits suicide, the best argument the kid has against manslaughter is he did not commit an act that was the proximate cause of the death. Fair enough. All right, do we have another one? Is that the last one? Do we have one more? Can't remember. That was it. Amazing. Cool. You want to do one more for old time's sake, or you're done, Vic?
Yeah, let's do one more.
One more question. Uno más.
Okay. Next question. There we go.
Next question. All right. A shopper sued a grocer in federal court for violation of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act. In its pre-answer motion, the grocer raised the defenses of personal jurisdiction and lack of subject matter jurisdiction. The court denied the motion. Thereafter, the grocer realized that arguably had available to it the defense of improper venue and failure to join a required party. The grocer then filed an answer to the shopper's complaint, raising these 2 additional offenses for the first time. Is the court likely to consider the grocer's defense? No, but only the improper venue defenses. Yes, but only the improper venue defense, not the defense of failure to join a required party because it's waived. Yes, but only the defense of failure to join a required party, not the defense of improper venue because it's waived. No, because the defense of improper venue, nor the failure to join a required party because they've both been waived. No, because of defense for improper venue, nor the failure to join a required party, because the grocer's pre-answer motion waives all other 12B6 defenses. Really, really solid. Anyone want to volunteer and step up to the plate here? How about you, Heather? You still with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
All right, which one of the 12B defenses are not waived if they are not brought on the first opportunity? Which ones can be brought at any time or, arguably anytime? Definitely subject matter jurisdiction, right? All right, anyone else? Subject matter jurisdiction can be brought at any time?
Subject matter can be brought at any time.
And 12B6.
And 12B6, what's that?
That's the failure to state a cause of, or the relief can be granted one.
Failure to state a claim for which relief can be granted. And what's the other one that can be brought at any time?
12B7,
12B7, which is?
failure to like bring like a proper party, like the failure to join a required party.
Exactly what we're seeing here. So remember, if we can take this away, I mean, venue, PJ, service, and process of service need to be brought in their first opportunity. SMJ can be brought at any time, even on appeal. Failure to state a claim for which relief can be granted and failure to join a necessary or indispensable party can be brought at any time up until, about when the verdict is rendered. So we like B here? You like B, Vic? Amazing. The grocer waived the defense of improper venue by not raising the pre-answer motion, but the court should hear the failure to join a required part defense as it may be raised after the first response of pleading. So again, we end with this very important concept of the 12B defenses. 1, 6, 7 can be brought anytime, which are SMJ, failure to state a claim, and failure to join a necessary party. And then 2, 3, 4, and 5 must be brought at first response of pleading. And that's PJ, venue, service, and process of service. All right, cool. I thank you all so much for hanging with me. I'm gonna do a couple things right now in real speed while I'm alive, but I'll start with, I'm gonna take this MBE cram guide so you can all see my computer here. I'm gonna take this cram guide and we're gonna take all subjects. We're gonna take, the crim law and all that. We're gonna take this entire cram guide that we created, a good 19-pager, and I'm gonna interpolate it into the master cram guide. So I'm literally gonna do that right at the end of the recording. So the master cram guide is down here, but I'll republish it at the top of the course. So this master cram guide is literally now 4 administrations, 4 straight administrations where I've done this exact same, project with my class. And we're going to add, another 19 pages to the 38-page document. So you'll see we really been doing this. This is the end all be all best piece of material that you could have for the bar exam, the MBE, because not only was it made by me, but it was made by me in the presence of all my students who, can be a little bit nitpicky. And we made sure that everything is perfect. So this is the, master cram guide. And then we're going to add all the points that we have done this time. And now, just because I want to end on a very positive note, I'm going to just show you the final submissions for the albums of the year. And then I'm going to wish you all on your very way. So album of the year assignment, we have Eric Washington, Excuse for Non-Performance, and Impracticality, Impossibility, Frustration of Purpose. Sounds like a 90s NYC street punk band. Hey, what's up, Vicky? I like this little puppy. What is it? St. Charles?
He's a Cavalier King Charles.
Cavalier. King Charles, that's what I meant. Yeah, King Charles, okay.
Louis.
What's her name?
Louis. He's a boy.
Louis, okay. So those are the ones that I think I see here. I know, Gabby, you had yours, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Here we go. Battery, intentional towards new album, intentional infliction, harmful offensive contact on another person or items attached to that person. I mean, pretty classic Tom and Jerry assault battery. Gabby's super creative. We love this. We got Victoria, She got a few. States try to block me, but I override dormant energy. So that's, I think, like the DCC, the Dormant Commerce Clause. And then she also reused this picture for market participant. I'm not in the game, not just watching. She used this picture again for prior inconsistent statement. Y'all switch sides too much. And then she used this picture again for exclusive jurisdiction. The rap game is mine, stay in your lane. I guess that's for original jurisdiction, Supreme Court. But I didn't know this. Vicky was a cheerleader for the Charlotte Hornets, and that is the one and only Michael Jordan. So that's pretty cool. And then we saw Eric's. I think, oh, we got Libby, what we got? All right, present warranties, general warranties are right of sizing, right to convey, right against encumbrances, and the future warranties are general warranties, further assurances, and the right of quiet enjoyment. I honestly have no idea who these people are, what's going on in this picture, but it seems pretty cool to me. Lauren made this one of me, as you remember, a voidable contract. If you're a minor, the contract is voidable. So Drake, when he's making these deals with these people who are under 18, it's voidable at their behalf. And then when they become of age, they can ratify the contract with Drake. Gabby, we saw. Diana, right? It's pretty solid. This is very heavily tested, right? Judicial notice. If it's a civil case and they must take judicial notice, they must accept it as conclusive. If it's a criminal case and they must take judicial notice, they may, but are not required to accept it as conclusive. So really good job, Diana. Jonathan, my guy, featuring DJ Cooloff, No Time, voluntary manslaughter, right? Walking in your wife with the pool boy, in imperfect self-defense, intentional killing, heat of passion, adequate provocation. We like that a lot. All right, I told y'all this one's coming. So Andrea calls me a little Pookie Bear, I guess. Such claim, case closed, res judicata, right? Like, it's been subject to claim preclusion. You all know the sexy octogenarian, right? No interest in land is valid unless it must vest, if at all, within 21 years of the death of a life and being at the time the interest was created. It hits contingent remainders, executive interest, vested remainders, subject to open. I do think getting the Ibis Prep logo tattooed on your body is pretty legit. And then this is the one, I smell sex and candy coming on right here. Again, I do not censor. I just show art. So Andrea, this is your moment. Sex is Art by First Amendment Fuckers, featuring the uncensored. Right? This is not appealing to the prurient interests of mankind. Vicky, don't stare too close, but this is not appealing to the prurient interests of mankind. This is actual art, and therefore it wouldn't be unprotected speech. And shit, I think that's it. I know, Heather, you sent one, right? But you may have sent it to me.
I did, but I didn't see where to submit it on here like that. I don't know where this album of the year assignment was actually. I didn't see where to submit it.
It's
There.
all good. Your cover is very political in nature.
Mine's
and
controversial. But it's accurate. It's factually accurate.
I think you and Victoria, we could put on stage right now, and you can debate the accuracy of it, and I would stand right in the middle and find it entertaining. But we're not going to do that. Yours was about vet caps. These are their executive powers, veto power, the exclusive representative in foreign affairs, treatise power, commander-in-chief, appointment and removal powers, pardon powers, but only for federal issues, and then the Secretary of State address. So amazing. Hey, what's up? I really think that this has been one of the best courses ever. Like I said, I'm literally going to take the cram guide that we made as a class, assimilate it into the master cram guide, and then I just had my graphic designer actually send me a flyer, right? That pretty cool, right? You can see last minute survival guide, and it's going to have these QR codes, and one of the QR codes is going to be the MBE cram guide. It's going to have the Florida MBE multiple choice, and it's going to have my essay guidebook. I'm going to give these out to people in Tampa to hopefully save some of them at the last minute. That's how much I believe in this master cram guide, that if you just read that, one day before the exam and you master that, you could pass this test. Now, the good news is those people are going to get it at the very last minute if they have the good fortune of running into me. Y'all have been here along the entire way, and I really encourage you to go over, review that cram guide. It's really nice to end on a good note. Victoria, you did amazing as Vanna White. We got all the questions right, really solid. My final advice to you all is to have confidence in yourself and go take care of business. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to stop this recording.